Let's get ready to rumble!
I am Ron Harris of YNN Network. First, tonight, we go over to CCN for the newest propaganda cartoon of the day.
Charter City is stunned by the sudden rollout of Rook Unlimited's most fantastic device ever. The Smart Mark. Throw your other devices away, because the Smart Mark is more than just a phone. It's part of you. Use it as cash. Book your travel. And even shoot video. Distribution points are all over the city. And don't let the lines discourage you. The Rook Unlimited Smart Mark is worth the wait.
I never realized how wonderful technology could make me feel. The Smart Mark has brought order to my life.
And the best part? It's absolutely free. A gift of thanks to our city from Rook Unlimited.
23% of the population has been given the Smart Mark, number 1.
Time to test our system, number 6. The Flex Fighters are out there somewhere. Teaming up with Jonathan Rook. Let's put our new recruits to work, subtly.
We should find the Flex Fighters.
I ought to find the Flex Fighters.
We should find the Flex Fighters. We should find the Flex Fighters.
Growing up in this city, on the streets of Old Town, I saw the worst mankind had to offer. Chaos, disorder. I vowed to make it all change. To make it all better. All these years working in secret, rising up the ranks of the tech men, it was all leading to this day. Order has finally been established in Charter City. No child will have to fear for their safety again.
The people owe you the greatest of debts, number 1, for liberating them from the chaos of their lives.
You guys love new tech. You didn't want to get smart marked?
No way. That's clearly some shady biz. Who wants to be...
You call yourself a man of science. World order is our destiny. Submit to a Smart Mark and join the glorious victory of order over chaos, or you will be eliminated.
Grandpa, Mr. Savick, where is everybody?
They all went to get those foolish new devices.
What? No, they can't. Grandpa, those things are dangerous. It's a conspiracy. Mind control.
Ha! I knew it!
3 hours is enough time for us to get to our families. Maybe we can stop them before they get marked.
They seem to be establishing checkpoints of some kind. This is how they keep order.
This is the nightmare I warned you about.
People think smart marks are brand new rook tech that will improve their lives. They don't know they're being tricked.
All smart marks so far. But your chip makes it possible to control everyone in Charter City, whether they're marked or not.
Thank you, CCN, for your New World Order propaganda content. And now to introduce to tonight's broadcast, Jason Laufenberg of Awake Souls.
Hello, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay here in Austin, Texas on this 10th of December, 2020.
We are your live anchors, and we are going to be dropping some new MK Ultra buzzwords on the audience tonight. And we hope you're all doing well. It's been a little while since we've been live, and it's nice to be live again. We've got a little something to talk about. I would say that the reason why we haven't been going live is because there really hasn't been much to talk about, in my opinion. Have you been seeing the same thing, brother?
Well, I'd like to extend my invitation to everyone on the internet and say,
get over here!
So yeah, I've been keeping my eye on the pulse of the ethereal realm that we call Earth. And so we're definitely seeing the beginnings of the pulling of the rug. I don't know if I really want to. There's certain words that you're not allowed to say anymore on YouTube. So there's been more censorship brought forth, as everybody knows we're dealing with here. I'd like to say hi to everyone in the chat.
Yeah, we're going to have to go into details tonight because, all right, so for people that have been following along, I guess the reason why we're streaming live on the Limitless channel right now is because the Awake Souls channel has 2 community guideline strikes against it, and the second one that I received last, because I had 2 second ones, one disappeared, but that one had to do with sunscreen. So we had gone through and we had shown the actual ingredients in sunscreen and the warnings associated with them, and how the ingredients act like poison to the human body. And that is what mainstream science says. I still got a community guideline strike for it. And they said it had to do with like medical misinformation, right? So we're dealing with a topic tonight that has to do with medical information, and so something that we're going to be really clear going forward anytime we're talking about anything medical, any sort of treatments, anything that you would do medically speaking. We, for the reason of trying to continue to be able to go live, are going to employ tactics to the best of our ability to be able to share with you the information that we think is most important, but at no time are we going to ever tell anybody to do this or not do that. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to show what the mainstream narrative talk about something is from a medical and therapeutic type standpoint. We're going to show what is being put out there by the mainstream, the authoritative figures, and then we'll talk about the way we're going to deal with that personally. We are not telling you that you need to do as us, all right? Because we're making decisions for ourselves. You're going to make decisions for yourselves. So we're sharing information from the mainstream so that we're all on the same page as to what is being said about something. And then we're going to talk about the things that we're personally going to do. These are a lot of these are moral decisions, right? It's not even medical whatsoever. It's purely moral decisions. So we're just going to talk about the decisions we're making, and then you get to choose for yourself how you're going to handle your own situation. So we got to be really, really, really clear when we're talking about medical stuff that there is no treatments being offered here. There's nothing being sold, promoted, none of that stuff.
That's correct. And
just simply the raw information that's being shared with the public through the mainstream, and then our handling of that.
And I'd also like to add, under the copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act since 1976, copyright disclaimer under the Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowances made for fair use purposes such as criticism, commenting, news reporting.
We are Yahushai News Network.
Teaching.
In case people don't know, look at the logo. It's all over the place. We are Yahushai News Network.
Scholarship and research. Fair use is permitted by the copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit. We are a nonprofit educational, and this is our personal use in the public's eye. The balance is in the favor of fair use. We're letting everyone know that everything we're saying tonight is under this copyright, and we are not offering any medical advice. All we do is read the mainstream media's points, and we share what we're doing, our personal choices, and we make that public.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing that we make public, sure, I can get the screen share. The other thing that we make public is our position that we view this reality from. And this is a key and fundamental thing, because our perspective on the nature of this reality is much different than many of the people in the world. Now, one of the things that we do is we go as far as to provide evidence for the reasons why we talk about the perspective that we do. And it boils down to 4 main points that we're going to have to continue to just make sure that every single person that comes along and listens to our message, that they understand that everything that we talk about is rooted in 4 fundamental truths that would separate, in our opinion, the wheat from the chaff, right? And the righteous from the wicked. So
that's correct.
There are 4 simple basic truths. Do you want to add something, brother?
I'd like you to center, I don't know what you're going to screen share, but I need that so I can fit the page.
I'm sorry.
It's all quite okay, brother. Thank you very much.
So those 4 fundamental points. Number 1, we're not on a spinning ball flying through space. We can prove that to people. We've been in debates with top heliocentrists, the ones that are willing to go on and debate. The people that you see on TV, they're never going to debate anyone because they're just TV actors, playing the role of a quote-unquote scientist. So we know that we can prove that we're not on a spinning ball flying through space. The second thing that we can prove is that the New World Order AE map model, the one that has one polar point, that being the North Pole, and everything rotating around that, we know that we definitely do not live on something like that. There's definitely 2 polar points in this world, and there's so many different ways to debunk. There's an infinite amount of ways to debunk the AE map model. So that separates us from a larger group of people that are willing to say that Earth is not a spinning ball flying through space, but aren't willing to say, yeah, this AE map model is impossible. The third thing that we point out to people is that materiality, the things that we're taught as far as this is hard, it's material, is all based on atomism. Right? Atomism is an ancient Greek philosophy, and it has as many holes in it as heliocentrism. So heliocentrism is big balls on a massive scale, and atomism is little balls on a micro scale, none of which there's any evidence for. So what we talk about is that every evidence that we can come across has sided with the nature of this reality being a simulation, or spiritual realm for a
Bullseye.
by the word simulation. And then the last thing is actually who created it. So we've gone as far as to show the evidence to who the creator of this reality is, and it's YHWH, Yahweh, from the Bible, and that there's, through the scriptures, if you read the Bible and you understand what it's saying, mankind fell, but redemption was made through his son, who came and lived a sinless life for us. He died on a torture stake and was resurrected 3 days later, and those that believe in him will get salvation.
Bullseye. You got the bullseye there.
These are the 4 fundamental truths that we see this world through, and we know that we can back them up. And so we have a much different perspective than most people, but it's interesting that nobody will debate us on any of these things that we say, because they know that we have the high ground and can actually prove each one of them.
Yes, that's correct. And for me to add in my opinions here is, I generally call this reality a supernatural spiritual realm, right? That's how I perceive it. And it's interesting that we had in the cartoon in the intro, they showed the waves, permeating throughout this realm. And that is truly what each and every one of us have the power to do. When we render the Father's will, when we have righteous hearts and we push that out through any types of activities, whether it be YouTube streaming, Facebook streaming, or any type of social media where you're actually putting your thoughts, channeling your spirit and energy out to the world. I know channeling's not the best word, but if you're in the creator... Focusing, or emitting. I prefer the word emit, right?
Emit's good.
Yeah, emit. There's these types of things like... this is our goal. So what we're doing is we're continuing to provide more evidence for the 4 fundamental points that we teach. But tonight we're going to be discussing just a rundown quickly. There is some stuff dealing with the New World Order takeover. Jason's going to be going into discussing the side effects of the Pfizer Jabola.
Well, my big focus that so I saw this last night, and I was ready to, we were going to go live, but it didn't work out. So this headline was out here yesterday, and the one I'm shaking my cursor around here, Germaphobe Nation washing away. I was shocked to see that it's actually still up, because headlines don't usually stick around that long on the Drudge, but this is still up on the head of Drudge, even though it was there yesterday. And so I'm going to be keying in on a couple of MK Ultra words that right away, as soon as I saw them, I understood the triggers involved, and also we got to be careful on this topic, but strategies to not be affected by it, right? A way to protect yourself from it mentally.
What we
because
do,
this is spiritual warfare. Yeah,
we'll share with you our protection levels.
What we do.
We don't suggest that. Again, Jason and I are not doctors. We don't have any PhDs. We're carpenters, but we like to share with y'all. And so I guess we're going to just get into it. You've got the Germaphobe article up. You are good to go.
Yeah, so this is a word to me that I want to start by saying that up until COVID, if somebody was labeled a germaphobe, let's say I just, in my social circle, somebody says, this person is a germaphobe. Right away in my head, I had a negative connotation of the person, that they had a disorder, a mental disorder, and that they weren't healthy, that they would be doing detriment to themselves socially and physically. This is the way I perceive them. I wouldn't have wanted somebody to call me a germaphobe, and I've never been a germaphobe. I've always thought that this would be a negative thing to be called a germaphobe, but now everything's changing because of cerveza bug. The headline now up 2 days, people washing hands so much during COVID, it's ruining their skin. So we're going to talk about actual physical things that are being stated in the mainstream about the detriments of this repeated hand washing, repeated use of hand sanitizers, and what they're going to say is really become germophobia. So with mask wearing and social distancing at the top of everyone's minds, the coronavirus pandemic has taken a surprising toll on a somewhat unexpected place, the hands of America. According to a new survey, the average American washes their hands 10 times per day since the pandemic began. They also sanitize them an additional 8 times each day. How do those numbers sound to you, brother? Like, I don't know. I'm not in communication with people that believe in the pandemic, but...
Well, you know, I do notice that, let's say at the gym, people are constantly, every exercise machine or piece of equipment they use, they're just blasting it with poison. And, you know, I don't have the exact number of what I think people do washing their hands throughout the day, but I would assume that the sheeple are actually, you know, statistically either they're at this number or they might even be, you know, a step higher than this.
Yeah, so D-Truth says, you were supposed to play in the dirt as a child. So we're going to go into, like I was saying earlier, Ronnie and I are going to talk about the way we've handled germophobia and all that. And we're going to talk about how we've lived our lives. This isn't medical advice for anybody else. This is simply how we've lived ourselves, how we've perceived healthy living throughout our lives. And so this article continues. With that in mind, the one poll surveyed 2,000 Americans reveals that more than half, 51%, say their digits are feeling drier than ever. Nearly 3 in 10 report their hands are flaky from increased hand washing and sanitizing. Over 1 in 5 say that their hands have even bled from all the cleaning. So they're traumatizing their hands to the point of bleeding, opening up the skin. So washing hands key to ending pandemic. This seems like we're in sort of a crux, oxymoronic type situation here. Nearly 6 in 10 people, 57%, say that they only use hand sanitizer after touching common surfaces such as door handles, turnstiles, car doors, shopping carts. On the other hand, 22% say they're using hand sanitizer after touching any surface or object, in public or not. So it's perhaps unsurprising then that 6 in 10, we're talking about 60% of people, admit to panicking when they leave the home without hand sanitizer. 44% of respondents say that the need to stay clean has even taken a toll on their relationships. This right here is literally germophobia. We're going to go into that. Those Americans agree concerns about spreading germs has made them less likely to hold hands with their romantic partner. Well, probably even less than holding hands. Like it might even be worse than that. So the germophobia could be cutting into people's sex lives, which is going to end up affecting their relationships.
Headshot. Like it's certainly a headshot.
Right? Well, it might feel like it's become second nature by now. Continuing to be vigilant about keeping hands clean across a variety of contexts, from home to work to the grocery store and beyond, will be imperative to curtailing the pandemic this cold and flu season. So they're saying it's got to be done, but it's destroying people too. They're seeing the physical ailments, but now it's the germaphobe society. So this is what they've been creating, people. The mask wearing and the hand washing and the sanitizing requirements has led to creating a germaphobe society.
Well, so there's that, as well as the propaganda that they've been promoting for years. But like literally now, just to interject, people really they believe that there's a deadly spray in the air, and that if they breathe it into their mouths, even though they just think that they're fine with that stupid mask that all you need to do is blow cigarette smoke out of your mouth and you'll see how safe that mask really is. They've been conditioned through fear now. So not only do we have a germaphobe society, but it's one that's completely fueled on fear, right? I just want to make sure that everybody understands that.
Well, an interesting statistic coming up. Men pay attention. So it says, unsurprisingly, 64% of respondents add 2020 has turned them into a bit of a germaphobe. About 7 in 10 women report that constant hand washing and sanitizing has become second nature during the pandemic. Despite a reputation for being less hygienic, just over 8 in 10 men said the same thing. This survey finds guys are actually more likely to report that their hands are drier as a result of the increased hand washing. Only 64% of all respondents said that they know which active and inactive ingredients to look for in hand sanitizer to help prevent dryness. So they don't even know, right? But the guys tend to be hit a little harder by this. I was surprised by that. So staying protected is more important in this cold and flu season, but many alcohol-based sanitizers can wreak havoc on your hands if you're not careful. So it's interesting that this ties into, it was in the suntan, how sunscreen can really be harmful to you. The one that I've got the community guideline strike on.
The way that you just said that.
It talked about all these alcohol-based sanitizers. We would have had the timestamp tonight to be able to go through and say, all right, this is what but we can't now because they
deleted that video. It's gone.
Yeah. All right, so germophobia. Let's dig into germophobia just a little bit. That's that article again. So if you just do your basic Google search for germophobia, I'll make this a little bigger. Healthline, I think this was at the top or near the top of the search results. All about germophobia. What is germophobia? Also sometimes spelled germophobia is the fear of germs. In this case, germs refers broadly to any microorganism that causes disease. For instance, bacteria, viruses, or parasites. So they got 4 different names, symptoms of germophobia. We all have fears, but phobias tend to be viewed as unreasonable or excessive compared to standard fears. The distress and anxiety caused by a germ phobia are out of proportion to the damage that germs are likely to cause. Someone who has germophobia might go to extreme lengths to avoid contamination. The symptoms of germophobia are the same as the symptoms of other specific phobias. In this case, they apply to the thoughts and situations that involve germs. The emotional and psychological symptoms of germophobia include intense terror or fear of germs, anxiety, worries, or nervousness related to exposure to germs, thoughts of germ exposure resulting in an illness or other negative consequence, thoughts of being overcome with fear in situations when germs are present, trying to distract yourself from thoughts about germs or situations that involve germs, and feeling powerless to control a fear of germs that you recognize as unreasonable or extreme. The behavioral symptoms of germophobia include, so here's your social disorder that's going to come as a result of all these people becoming germaphobes. These are the behavioral symptoms. Avoiding or leaving situations perceived to result in germ exposure. Spending an excessive amount of time thinking about, preparing for, or putting off situations that might involve germs. Seeking to help to cope with the fear or situations that cause fear. Difficulty functioning at home, work, or school because of fear of germs. For example, the need to excessively wash your hands may limit your productivity in places where you perceive there to be many germs. Now these are the physical symptoms. Now relate these in your head to all the other physical symptoms that you're being told about as being side effects of jabs or side effects of different therapies that are being prescribed as a result of the cerveza. The physical symptoms of germophobia are similar to those of other anxiety disorders and can occur during both thoughts of germs and situations that involve germs. They include rapid heartbeat, sweating or chills, shortness of breath, chest tightness or pain, lightheadedness, tingling, shaking or tremors, muscle tension, restlessness, nausea or vomiting, headache, difficulty relaxing. And I'm not even going to talk about the kids. We don't.
Oh, skip that one.
We'll skip that. Parents, do your research. Look up what germophobia is and see if you are seeing the effects of germophobia, because it is a disorder. Right?
You know, just to chime in with my thoughts here, I do see that there are people suffering from this. I hope no one watching now or in the future is suffering from these types of fears over germs. As well as, you know, another thing that constantly trolls me is when I see parents with their kids muzzled, when they've got like the big masks and, you know, they clearly can't breathe. I haven't yet said anything to a mother because it's not usually my place to, but I was going to ask you, have you seen any situations where you felt like saying anything, Jason?
Not really.
You don't pay attention, right, to that kind of stuff. You're out in public getting what you need. Well, I have, and you know, if there's anyone listening right now and you're a parent, please do not put these. So the masks actually create brain damage, right? Do the research, especially for someone that all of a sudden out of nowhere starts wearing a mask for 8 hours a day. There's a good chance that you're going to considerably damage your cognitive ability. It's very toxic. Back to the story.
Yeah, so just so people understand, germophobia is something that's been memed up. When you type in germophobia, you click on images and you look at your very top search results, you get these pictures of this isn't real. Like, I hope everybody
CGI.
understands that this is CGI.
Same thing as pictures of Earth from space.
Yes, this is like Jupiter and Saturn and Neptune and Pluto. No different. CGI pictures. And then they got CGI pictures all over people's hands. And then there's popular shows where they have people play germaphobes that people identify with, and they become germaphobes because they think it's cool. It's like one of these MK Ultra mind control techniques. They set up some celebrity that people become endeared to, and they have them playing the part of a germaphobe. That's not good.
No, and
it's a disorder.
Well, and the thing to point out too is if they've actually have to CGI germs onto someone's hands, you know that they're literally trying to poison your mind.
And so we've showed you what the mass media has to say about germophobia. We've showed you that. And now what I'd like to do, brother, is just talk about how we've handled germophobia, how we've addressed it in our personal lives. Do you want to...
I can start, yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know, as we were instructed to be tillers of the land, I just want to let everyone know that I've been a gardener for most of my life. And I actually think that it's one of the healthiest things that you can do is to get your hands in the dirt of the earth and work with it and plant flowers and to do these types of things. I've always been a believer in that. And so I've never been someone that was afraid of dirt, being a landscaper for a lot of my life and building and creating gardens and gardening. So the dirt for me has never been an enemy. I believe that we are actually made of the same type of substance, our avatar bodies, as the dirt. And so for me, sure, I wash my hands when I get dirty. I don't wash my hands 10 to 20 times a day or any of those retarded numbers. But, you know, I'll start off this conversation with saying that I believe that everyone should have their hands in the dirt at least maybe 20 times a year, digging around, planting things. And allowing the good bacterias that come from the earth to be one with your skin. And, Jason, if you wanted to get into other topics, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to relate to people my personal experience. So growing up in, pretty remote, rural Wisconsin, my father was a cement contractor. And growing up Jehovah's Witness, wasn't allowed to have friends. There weren't any Jehovah's Witnesses in our area, so I wasn't allowed to have friends. So it was actually, for me to go to the job site was great. So I started going to the job site, like 12 years old. And from that point going forward, like, we didn't, bottled water was not a thing back then in rural Wisconsin. Like, we laughed at the idea that somebody would pay extra to get bottled water. And so the garden hose, every job site, we drank out of the garden hose. We were digging around in the dirt in our hands. We had concrete all over our hands. And if it was break time, we just rinsed off our hands and ate our sandwiches and, fruit or whatever it was that we had. And I remember sitting around and my parents telling me that it's good and healthy that you should eat like a bushel of dirt a year. That was their advice to me. And they thought I would get that through having dirty hands, eating the sandwiches and stuff like that. So
in other areas as well, potatoes, any type of produce that comes from the ground.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, don't rinse the dirt off the lettuce was their philosophy. And that's how I grew up, and I can honestly say that as far as illnesses, like stomach illnesses, I would typically get like the seasonal flu, the winter flu, and just once, not terribly bad. I've had a few. I've had food poisoning that was way, way, way worse. I still ended up with allergies, which is going to be a part of the topic on anaphylactic. I've got, personal experience on that as well. But, yeah, I was never, ever, but I still live clean. Like, the idea of, a dog crapping in the house and not cleaning up stuff, leaving dishes sitting out, that wasn't the type of household I was in whatsoever. It was very clean, and never wanted to contaminate things. We did a decent job of that, but wasn't overly concerned by it. And my personal experience was I didn't find myself getting sick as a result of my behaviors. So
yeah, and for me, just to add in too, I had my share of things that I went through as well. We drank a lot of tap water for most of my life, at least through the 80s and most of the 90s. We kind of like mocked people, like, these people are crazy. They pay for water and then they go and buy bottles of water as well. I remember the fad changing when the bigger bottles of water became like a thing where everyone had like the water cooler, and that was the initial phase that people started drinking the bottles. And, I don't think it's the healthiest way to live our lives. I do believe, and I tell everybody, especially the people at the gym, the trainers, their hands were starting to get super hurt. And I told them, like, that stuff's poison. So I always promote that you actually need good bacteria that is in this realm. I'm not saying go around touching things and then, licking your fingers. That's disgusting, right? We live a clean life, but we need to absorb things through our skin. And, it used to be if you had the chicken pox, you went to a chicken pox party and everybody got it and we all got through it. There was many things like that were in place for our society to thrive. Now we've just got a bunch of Karens that won't let anything happen at all. I just hope that people get back to being natural and have the faith and the strength to not be afraid with any of these stupid propaganda schemes. I guess we should probably move on. We're getting long in the time already. But Jason and I both promote having good bacteria. Like, we don't use hand sanitizer at all, right? And this isn't medical advice. Neither of us are doctors. Right, Jason?
Correct. So, I'm looking for the other headline. Where'd it go? Had to do with anaphylactic.
Oh, that's gross. You got it up.
Yeah, but I want to...
Oh, about the vaccine? Damn. I said it.
Yeah, you got that link. Let's see here. I don't know why the tab's not there, but...
Want me to put the thumbnail on while you search? Let me know when I'm watching. I'll see when you're ready to.
So, I mean, this is... No, where's news?
Yeah, weren't you searching for something regarding those ones?
Yeah.
And I'll... Oh, can you close that? Agree and close? And you're good.
So, anaphylactic is the other popping term. It was all over Drudge yesterday, and it has to do with the Pfizer jab. So they were saying that people that have a higher risk to allergies, that those people are responding with anaphylactic shock. And I just wanted to make sure everybody had seen and understands what anaphylactic shock can look like, because if you see people getting the jab and then having reactions like this is the type of thing that you expect to see. So me personally, I grew up with some allergies starting around the time I was 12, like cats and dust, and I eventually they got so bad that my parents took me to allergy clinic where they used the needles and they shot in little injections under the skin, and they would measure how much it grows, and then they created some sort of a serum for me. And because we lived rural and all this, my parents just had me administer the shots to myself. So for years, I gave myself an allergy injection, and I at the time I also even had like asthma, where I had this inhaler thing. There was an inhaler before the regular mist one. There was like this one that had a pill that was all powder in it that you would put in there and you would crush it, and had a fan blade when you inhaled. That was a crazy one.
They still have that for certain types of pills.
So allergies is a thing that if you are prone to allergies and you get this immunization shot from Pfizer, people are having anaphylactic shock. Now, anaphylactic shock can be really serious because it can kill you. Mm-hmm. So these are just early warning signs of it.
Well, and I as well can submit to the group here tonight. I myself as well had to go in and had the nurse at my doctor's office give me shots because of my severe allergy problem that did go away, funny enough. And I would like to break in here because we're talking about sores, right? And we as well know in Revelation 16:2 it says, "Then first went the angel and poured out his bowl on the earth, and severely painful sores broke out on the people who had the mark of the beast and who worshipped his image."
That's what. As soon as this Cerveza thing happened, we were literally the first ones on YouTube to get the timestamp for making the connection of the mark of the beast to this coming vaccination that we knew would eventually get here, and they're really on the timetable that they outlined early on. So we have no reason to believe that it's not coming, that we're not going to have this happen. So I believe today is the 10th, and this was the day that the CDC was supposed to meet and decide something. Some people are saying that the jabs could begin by the 14th. So we just put this information out in front of people to contemplate from themselves what it is they want to do with their health, right? And we're not talking just physical health, we're talking about spiritual health as well. So like Ronnie just read, that scripture is really important, right? So an anaphylactic reaction is a severe allergic reaction that can cause difficulty breathing, face and tongue swelling, as well as lightheadedness, among other symptoms. The staff members reacted shortly after the vaccine was administered. So that those are the two big medical headlines. We've got germaphobia and anaphylactic shock. The therapy for something like this. So mass media, medical science is in the headlines saying that people that have allergic reactions should not take the jab yet. Ronnie and I, well, I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not going to take the jab. Right, so that's my personal decision.
Yeah,
it's
1,000,000% I won't take it either, right?
It's based on my history of allergies and my knowing of the scriptures that I'll end up burning in hell for eternity if I were to do such a thing.
And I concur as well, based on my allergies and from my extensive research into my faith. It completely conflicts with any types of jabs that they might try to offer. And again, Jason and I, we're not ministers, we're not rabbis, we're two carpenters who just want to share with you our truth. And we don't solicit, we're not selling anything, we're not promoting anything. This is just straight up advice. Take it or leave it. What other tabs did you have to go through, brother?
That was it for this topic. You want to take the screen share?
Sure. Are you done?
It depends on how much time we have. I could show that perpetual motion machine for a little fun later.
You're hilarious. We can have a... Can I get a sound check in the chat as well? We can do a free energy stream, right? I'd enjoy that. Am I screen sharing to you as well? I believe I am.
Yeah.
And let's broadcast that to the rest of the world. So, we got to talk. We got to talk, friends. I'm waiting on my sound check. Is my mic really low? Is it too loud? Yeah, on my allergies and my faith, it's okay. Yahweh's daughter says it's good. And we're super thankful to have Yahweh's daughter back on the job, working effortlessly, tirelessly, standing up to the trolls, shills, liars, and deceivers. We give you thanks. We need you.
Amen.
So, let's get into this. This happens to be, believe it or not, the health minister of Belgium. Like, what kind of a mocking joke. I was on YouTube with a guy named Lawrence. And Lawrence was on a fitness show where they were actually nude. And the entire point of the show was that if you're not in a good enough shape to sit there nude, you really shouldn't be giving anyone physical advice. Right? So this is the health minister.
Yeah, there's something to be said with that philosophy. Like, if you go to a gym and ask for, a guy to teach you about weightlifting, if he has no strength or he's, completely out of shape, you might be thinking to yourself, well, I don't know, maybe he doesn't know what he's talking about, right?
Exactly, 100%. So now to go into the Canadian Canuckistan, or whatever you want to call them, the Canadian Communist Health Ministry, exploring what is called immunity passports. Tracking and surveillance. The health minister of Ontario in Canada, which I'm from, has stoked controversy by suggesting that people who do not take the cerveza bug jab will face restrictions on where they can travel and spend time. It says, when asked by reporters about the government intends to go about how the government intends to go about convincing people to get the jab, Health Minister Christine Elliott warned that those who refuse it will face difficulties reintegrating into society. Quote, "That's their choice. This is not going to be a mandatory campaign. It will be voluntary," Elliott said, but adding that there may be some restrictions that may be placed on people that don't have jabs for travel purposes to be able to go to the theaters and other places. When another reporter asked if the government would be introducing immunity passports or proof of jab cards, Elliott said yes, because that's going to be really important for people who have to travel, perhaps for work or for going to theaters or cinemas or any other places where people will be in closer physical contact. And let's hear it from this lady's mouth.
There may be some restrictions that may be placed on people that don't have vaccines for travel purposes, to be able to go to theaters and other places. But that will be up to the individual person to decide whether they want to receive the vaccine to be able to do these things or not. But it is voluntary.
Does the government envision giving specific authorized proof that there has been a vaccine or you've been vaccinated? So like it's like a card or some sort of form that people can show to prove that they've been vaccinated?
Yes, because that's going to be really important for people to have for travel purposes, perhaps for work purposes, for going to theaters or cinemas or any other places where people will be in closer physical contact when we get through the worst of the pandemic. So yes, that will be essential.
It's just disgusting. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, let me read between the lines. Anywhere that you need to go to buy or sell or interact or integrate into society, if you don't have your I've been jabbed card, you're not allowed to participate in that society. What does that sound like, brother?
Well, it sounds like we may have been correct in connecting the vaccination to the mark of the beast, because that's what we've been looking for. That's going to be the telltale sign of whether or not it's the mark of the beast. We've heard people make ridiculous claims that it's not. Well, we're seeing every step be taken towards it being required in order to be able to buy and sell. So it just does away with anybody that's trying to say it's not.
So continuing down the article, it says the Toronto Sun spoke to her press secretary, who confirmed that the government is exploring several options for vaccine tracking and surveillance, end quote. Quote, this includes exploring developing tech-based solutions while also providing alternative options to ensure equitable access to potential immunity passport. So this is crazy that she's saying this phrase will set off alarm bells, and it should, not just for anti-jabbers, but for anyone who's concerned about the Charter of Rights and governments running roughshod over them. So at least this article is pushing back a little bit, right?
That is nice.
That's a little bit surprising. And again, this is the health minister in Belgium. So now on to more news. Facebook has been hit with an antitrust lawsuit, supposedly, and we'll just hear it from this guy's mouth.
Facebook sued by the U.S. government. The government suing, trying to force the company to sell off Instagram and WhatsApp. Also, 48 states have joined together in a lawsuit accusing Facebook of using its power as a monopoly to crush smaller competition. Facebook tonight vowing to fight back.
That's just a quick update that I wanted to share, because there seems to be some sort of a lawsuit taking place here. This is just new. I got this from John Smith, the Estonian that never stops seeking the truth. Thumbs up to him. So yeah, have you heard about this, Jason?
I have not.
So yeah, this does seem to be taking place. The American government is suing Facebook for being a monopoly, basically. Anyone can search and read this entire article if they so choose. We also had something that I wanted to go over off of Jeff Berwick from the Dollar Crook cryptocurrency channel. I can't remember if that's exactly how it goes. But what he's got is this document here, and we don't know if these are legit or real. We just know they're screenshots. Now, I know Jason hasn't heard any of this. I'm just bringing this out now. Now, it says the New World Order Plan, 1220 to 1221. So this is, I guess, leaked. It says December 2020. This is what we had. Field hospitals set up in each country. January 2021, full lockdown. All jobs stopped. All businesses closed. They didn't, I don't think they enacted it until maybe March. I want to say March is when they started enacting it. I don't know if Jason wants to clarify his point on that.
Yeah, March seems to be when it started being enacted, right?
Yeah, that's what I think. Keep losing the chat keeps leaving on my phone here. So I'll continue with this. Reform all benefits. New infectious So this is March 21. New infection, COVID-21, different strain, more deadly than the first one. They haven't done that. April 21st, hospitalization, hospitals unable to cope. That never happened. They were always empty. Government, I can't hardly read that. Sets new pay structures for workers, including a new minimum wage. Maybe this is supposed to happen in 2021. Oh, May 21, right? Okay. June 21, shops running out of supplies. Local protests common. Army checkpoints. Everybody be prepared. They might start setting up checkpoints. National civil unrest, it says. Local governments start pulling out. Cerveza 21 vaccine developing. Early plans for new government structure. First full roll out your sleevers of COVID-19. So that's August. They're already doing this now. Now, right?
Well, we got to see how this all shakes down, because we've got these first ones coming out. We've got some pushback on them. Maybe there'll be a break where we're waiting for a different vaccine, because these plans here talk about like another new deadlier virus being identified,
Cerveza
right?
21.
Yeah.
So then we got in September, all debts canceled if you get the Cerveza bug jab. New law cancels all property ownership and passes it to the you-know-who. They're here to help you. October...
We've covered that. That's part of the Great Reset.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Introduction of the Cerveza passports in digital and card format, which they're going to give you the chip for. Only those who've had the jab can work and travel, buy or sell. That's exactly what we just went over. If you can pull the scripture up, Jason, and read it live, or if anyone in the chat is able to pull up, save ye that had the mark of the beast, that you shall be allowed to buy or sell, is sort of paraphrasing. We got November of 21, Cerveza bug Vende Uno jabs become mandatory. December Vende Uno, it says, Cerveza bug passports change name to health passports and become accepted as the normal way of life. So this is what they're forecasting. Whatever this was snipped at, this guy does sneak into like Bilderberger meetings and stuff like that. Jeff Berwick, he's been known for it. And then this second sheet said the WEF technocratic game plan. Control fully the media and political parties in all 193 UN nations. Check. They've got that. Release a lab-produced virus. This is probably nonsense. I'm going to uncheck that. Bombard the world with a 24/7 Cerveza bug propaganda. Check. Have the whole world wear masks. Unfortunately, check. Develop AI algorithms that can identify this type of people. Roll out the agenda. Check. Conflate Cerveza with Agenda 2030 as an opportunity to reset the world. Jason just brought it up. The Great Reset. Check. Systematically destroy the economy and as many jobs as possible using repeated lockdown strategies in the plot process. Check. Use PCR high amplifications to justify lockdowns with high cases. Roll out first placebo Cerveza jab. Check. And we're here. That's duly noted. Use the PCR low amplifications to prove that the jab worked. Allow people to feel normality is returning. Introduce digital currency. Bunch of jab pass and social scores. They're going to want that. They want everyone to be like the China. Introduce basic living wage for the millions out of work. So you give them their, their bread stamps, right? Or their whatever their card's called nowadays. This does sort of seem like what we are approaching, right? Did you find that scripture?
Revelation 13:16. It's in the chat. I didn't pull it up, but the chat was asking if it would be possible to get links to these things that you're sharing right now. Is that something you could share?
Sure. I guess basically we are through the links. We can chat a little bit. I'll share the links if you want to share your links. I'll put the cartoon link in first. How's everybody doing? How you doing, brother? We kind of ran through that. I think it was good. We don't always need to go like 20 hours.
No. No, just shake the rust off a little bit. We had a little something to talk about, which was exciting. It's absolutely and utterly baffling to me how we can be in December right now and still feel like there's not much to talk about. Yet somehow we're here. Like, my subscription feed is just dead. We get a couple things off of your subscription feed. And the headlines, I don't know, just this germaphobia jumped out at me. This is what they've created with getting everybody to wash their hands and use the hand sanitizer. They're poisoning people that way. It's manifesting as physical, social symptoms, like bad. And let's see.
If you can put your links as well. Just to, talk a little bit out before we end the stream. People, don't be afraid of germs. They don't exist like what you think they do. Some of them are actually super important to our lives. You could look at it like certain types of fish have other types of fish. They clean them. Those, you don't call those other fish germ fish, right? And the same process is something very important. If you're finding that your skin is dry and cracked and you're washing your hands 12 to 20 times a day, you might want to take a step back on that. Just chill it out, some quick advice that I have. I know that a lot of the people that tune in here are probably super trolled by all the sheeple and all the masks and all the Karens. Just try to be thankful that you actually know the truth and that you're not living in fear. And when you're out in public, try to share that fearlessness limitlessly, if I couldn't say it any better.
Yeah, so I just shared the germaphobia link to signs, symptoms, that kind of stuff. The other things, they were the major headlines. You can see the one still on Drudge, and the other one had to do with the anaphylactic shock that people were experiencing with the Pfizer jab. I guess if they were prone to
allergies.
Keep on forgetting that
Which
word.
we both are.
So, yeah, we are.
Well, they did,
but not everybody is, but we are.
We actually, they put the different things on me. They had these little dot things where they would push the dots on you, and then they'd sit there and like, ooh, let's see what happens to this kid, right? And then all of a sudden, a bunch of welts would rise up out of my skin, and they were like, oh, check. I'm sure you probably went through the same thing with the pharmakia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or did they just like, look at this guy's nose run. He's definitely got a problem with allergies. Is that how it happened for you, or were you actually tested?
For allergies?
Correct.
Yeah, I went through, they tested me for like 90 different airborne things.
Was it itchy? I remember it drove me absolutely nuts. I thought I was being tortured.
Yeah, it didn't faze me. I didn't like it. I mean, it hurt.
It hurt. Mine was just like more of an itch.
Yeah.
So there's a couple good points brought up in the chat. Furious Cabbage, who says, very good info tonight, thank you. The grievous sores is an important story. Yes, that's biblical. Like, if people get this jab and all of a sudden they start breaking out in these sores, you heard it here. And you know who we rep. And then further down, we've got Unmuzzled Unicorn coming through with Saturn and Jupiter aligning as well. That's a huge thing. That's on the 21st of this month. And it's going to look crazy, right? They're saying it's going to look like a Xmas tree or a Christmas tree, right? I'm going to be looking forward to that.
D-Truth has his eyes on my next big watch date, being the 14th. So that is the Electoral College drama. It's also an eclipse. That one's going to hit South America, like Argentina and Chile. What a total solar eclipse. And I guess, yes, at the peak of the Gemini meteor shower. So that is...
quite the trifecta.
That is my next big watch date. And then as that day passes, then definitely the 21st is going to be a massive watch date as well.
Well, personally, as someone that watches the stars, like most people probably watch their TV, I watch the sky. I love the moon and the stars, and always have, always will. It's been quite the show in the sky to watch as the two, pretty much brightest stars in my view move closer and closer together. And I'm really looking forward to when they're like aligned. That's going to be something that I've never seen Jupiter and Saturn do. I believe it's like 500 years, but I might be paraphrasing.
794.
Thank you. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. Also, we're hoping that there's some more stuff that we can cover. I know you said the 14th will definitely We might come back on Sunday. I don't know if something happens tomorrow, we'll be back, but for the foreseeable future, just, keep your subscription feed on the Limitless channel. And, we're just thankful to be here tonight and to have this chance to share this time with you guys and share our truth. Anyone that has dirt, get in it, get dirty, live life. Don't have any fear. Yahushua said that you can't add any time to your life if you have any fear. None. Like, all you have to do is give the Father of the creation all of your trust, and he will favor you and take care of you,
Yeah, and so I think my 2-week penalization for the second copy or community guidelines strike, I believe that ends on the 14th, so I'll be able to, from that point going forward, put up notifications on the Awake Souls channel that we're going live here, that maybe that'll help drive some people over that don't know and don't realize that we had to move right now because of those strikes. So that'll be nice, and we just keep doing what we do because we enjoy doing it. We hope all of you out there are doing well. We really do appreciate the ones that come and join us live like this and participate in the chat. We know that there's some lurkers out there. We hope to see you in the chat sometime soon. So thank you for joining, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Yahushua News out.
if we live forever, let us live forever tonight. Helicopters against the moonlight, our holy mother of the